This movie goes hard as fuck. Today we're talking about Kurosawa's 1985 epic, Ran. Yo, this movie, oh my god. In 1985, at the age of 75, Akira Kurosawa created what many consider his final masterpiece, a reimagining of Shakespeare's King Lear set in feudal Japan. There's so much to talk about in this movie, from the cinematography, to the acting, to the directing, to the writing, the adaptation of the Shakespeare play, to the locations, to the color, to the themes. Ran follows the story of Lord Hidetora, an aging warlord who decides to divide his kingdom amongst his three sons. There are enough reviews of this movie already on YouTube that go deep into the adaptation of the Shakespeare play and some of the bigger themes that this movie tackles. I'm not here to disagree or debate or analyze any of those. There's enough of those already on YouTube. But I'm going to talk about a handful that stood out to me. Lady Kaede's scenes were the things that stood out the most to me while watching this film. Contemporary cinema often falls into predictable patterns with its female villains. We see this in characters like Amy Dunn from Gone Girl, whose calculated revenge is explicitly tied to her mental instability. Or Cersei Lannister from Game of Thrones, whose cruelty is frequently linked to maternal instinct. Lady Kaede stands alone in her absolute clarity of purpose. Her revenge isn't personal, it's historical. She doesn't seek to punish one man, but to systematically destroy an entire power structure. The film never shows us flashbacks of her family's destruction or scenes of her private pain. We don't see her crying alone or breaking down. She simply acts. Kurosawa provides no justification for her actions. It's almost instinctual. She can't help it. Her vengeance requires no explanation beyond the historical fact of her family's destruction. She doesn't monologue about her pain or descend into visible madness. Instead, she operates within the strict confines of her society's patriarchal structure, weaponizing the very systems meant to constrain her. It almost felt otherworldly. While watching her, it made me feel like I knew nothing about feudal Japan. It's great characterization and it's great writing. It threw out all my expectations of what to expect from the character. Gone Girl presents Amy Dunn as a similarly calculating figure, but feels compelled to explain her. Through her diary entries and monologues, we learn about the pressures of being the cool girl, or her parents' expectations and her marital disappointments. While her revenge plot is masterfully executed, the film frames it through psychological instability and emotional trauma. Amy's famous cool girl monologue reveals the key difference. She needs to explain herself to us. The film can't let her actions stand alone. Where Lady Kaede simply is, Amy must justify. Probably a better comparison is Cersei Lannister. Cersei represents another approach to female vengeance. Like Lady Kaede, she orchestrated the destruction of her enemies through careful manipulation of power structures. However, her character is consistently framed through the lens of motherhood. Her cruelest actions are often preceded by threats to her children, and her final moments link her fate to her unborn child. While Cersei's political machinations can be as cold as Lady Kaede's, the story repeatedly returns to maternal love as both her motivation and her weakness. That's what I love about how Kurosawa portrayed Lady Kaede in this film. There's nothing relatable about her. There's no attempt to make her a sympathetic figure. Out of these three examples, Lady Kaede is the most radical. She doesn't need to justify herself through motherhood like Cersei or deconstruct societal expectations like Amy. She simply executes her revenge with the same purpose as the samurai who destroyed her family. In doing so, she achieves something rare in cinema: true equality in villainry. All right, let's talk about the cinematography for a bit. The cinematography in Ran is unbelievable. The color contrast that he achieved in this movie is insane. I don't know that I've ever seen a movie where the colors represent the themes so well. It's brutal. This is one of the most brutal films I've ever seen. It's so good. The film's use of color coding, particularly in the army's banners and costumes, creates a visual hierarchy that breaks down as chaos ensues. Kurosawa's presentation of violence is deliberately stylized, with vivid reds against stark landscapes, arrows flying in deadly silence, and flames consuming ancient castles. The film's most brutal sequences are shot with an almost painterly distance, forcing us to contemplate rather than merely react to the carnage. This movie is so successful at immersing you as an audience member into this struggle. Lord Hidetoro's descent into madness is devastating. Even as a feudal warlord in ancient Japan, you feel the loss. You feel him regretting the decision that he made. But again, no one in this is really a victim. It's a tragic story all the way around, but no in particular person is a tragedy. This is a difficult film to talk about because as I'm talking about it, I'm getting like more ideas that I need to research. At some point, I just got to get it out. So I'm simply talking about a handful of things that I really liked in this movie. I feel like it's going to be a theme that I keep bringing up on these reviews, but they don't make movies like this anymore. Anyway, should you watch Ran? Yes, you should.